Hybrid crossovers are everywhere regardless of size, but what we have here are a pair of compact crossovers, and we're gonna kick things off with this, the hot off the block Ford Territory Hybrid, going up against, finally, the BYD Sealion 6.
Now, for those of you who were complaining about our last Sealion 5 big test, saying this should have gone up against a Corolla Cross and the HRV Hybrid, well, that was not a mismatch. This is the correct match. Sealion 6 versus Territory. And before we begin, I just want to give a huge shout out to Dad for letting us borrow his car for this big test. We're going to take good care of it, we promise.
All right, but regardless of the result of this big test, people are going to be very unhappy regardless of which cab you go for, Ford or BYD, because that's the way big tests go. And anyway, this is Anton.
And this is Leander.
And this is the big test. So far here in the Sealion 6, definitely in terms of performance, it has more grunt, it has more pull compared to the Territory. This one just has a bit more confidence when it comes to passing. Actually, correction, a lot more confidence when it comes to passing. And it's not just because of the extra power that the plug-in hybrid system provides. The Territory makes 201 horsepower, this makes about 217, 219 horsepower. So there, when you think about it, it's not much of a difference, especially when you compare their weight. It's really in the nature of an REEV that, you know, they're more responsive and they're just quicker off the line when it comes to acceleration. Now, what's amusing about this is in the Territory, once you speed up, it doesn't like it very much when you're trying to go faster. Here, the power just keeps piling on and piling on and piling on, which is great. And that's great, especially in high-speed cruising. So performance points definitely go to the BYD, no doubt about that. It's not even a contest, if I'm being honest. And if you're going to be more enthusiastic with the throttle, the Sealion 6 is going to provide a little bit more fun. Now, in terms of handling, honestly, it's a bit of a split decision here because there's a little bit more turn-in, the steering is a little bit sharper, but I prefer the steering feel of the Sealion 6. So what does that mean? Perhaps the Sealion 6 can provide a little bit more feel and feedback, a little bit more engagement behind the wheel, and in some ways, just that little bit more quote-unquote fun. Because in the Territory, quite frankly, it just feels a bit numb behind the wheel. Like there's almost no feel, almost no feedback in that steering. At least the BYD does provide a little bit better sense of straight ahead. And you also know where the wheels are pointed in the BYD, that bit better compared to the Territory. However, the suspension is a lot softer. I can feel a lot of body motions going, like heaving up and down. It doesn't feel very settled. And what does that mean for handling? So let's say in an emergency maneuver, this car is going to sway a lot more compared to the Territory. Because of that, let's say you come from an emergency maneuver, the body moves a lot more, and because of that, it doesn't recover as quickly as the Territory. Now, thankfully, both cars have a whole barrage of advanced driver assists. At the same time, active safety assists such as stability control, and I'm sure that'll keep it in check. But that's the thing. I like the way the BYD feels behind the wheel, but when it comes to handling itself, I think the Territory just edges out the BYD, just probably by a hair or two. But still, a point is a point, and it is going to go to the Territory.
All right, so in terms of comfort, this is probably a very important thing to talk about in this big test. So the Sealion 6, as Anton said, the suspension feels very soft. So at times it can be very wallowy, and that body roll, simply changing lanes on the expressway at speed, you're gonna feel it. Like there's this thing we call in the Sealion 6, there's a halo factor. So if you are driving a bit at speed on the expressway, you're changing lanes here and there, you will get dizzy at some point, especially your passengers in the back. Right now we're cruising at 80, mostly straight straight roads, not much twisties here, no curves, just a few turns here and there. So it's okay. So if you're gonna be driving on expressways mostly, which what my dad does, it's gonna be fine. But in terms of like sheer comfort, the Territory is better. Not to mention it's much quieter inside that cabin. Ford boasts about the laminated windows, that it reduces noise, seeps into the cabin, and it makes a difference. And not only that, the road noise underneath, you hear it more here in the Sealion 6. So on a long drive, that's gonna add to a lot of fatigue for both driver and passenger. Now, in terms of space, the Sealion 6 is still very spacious. It's a big crossover after all. With Anton sitting in front, I have the same amount of legroom in the Territory and here in the Sealion 6. But I guess where this one suffers in terms of space is the middle seat, the fifth passenger. The center console of the Sealion 6 kind of protrudes all the way back, so it eats up some legroom here in the middle, and it's not as wide inside, so elbow room isn't as good as in the Territory. So in terms of comfort, I'm gonna have to give the points to the Territory Hybrid. But in terms of interior, so this is another thing people want to talk about, these two have very flashy, premium feeling interiors. And I got in the Territory Hybrid first before this one, and I thought I liked that better. It's nice and all, has a lot of colors. It even has the new headrest design. And ergonomics is slightly better there, specifically the tunnel or the compartment underneath the center console. The USB A and C ports, you can reach it properly from the driver's seat. Here in the Sealion 6, it's almost impossible. But, you know, those are just ergonomics. In terms of interior quality and feel, build quality here is very solid. I have never been a fan of the noisy interiors with a lot of accents and all that. But here in the Sealion 6, it feels tastefully done. Some people might not like it, but for me, it's a bit more toned down compared to, say, the Atto 3, for example. It has less quirky accents and it feels more simple. And overall, like the look of it, it feels more premium. It feels nicer to be in, and not to mention the seats are more plush. I thought I liked the seats in the Territory better, but you know, both the front and rear seats feel plusher, feel more premium. So I guess in terms of interior, I'm gonna have to give the points to the Sealion 6.
And now for fuel economy. Now, bit of an asterisk here. We put the BYD Sealion 6 on HEV normal mode in this case, which is what probably a lot of owners would be doing. A lot of owners, of course, would be switching it to EV to make the most out of their mileage, but we sort of wanted to give the Ford a bit of a fighting chance. But at the end of the day, the Sealion just totally kicked the tailgate of the Territory because we record 45.45 kilometers per liter in the Sealion 6, which is probably one of the reasons why everyone's buying them these days. Now the Ford, okay, here's the thing, fellas. It did 18.2, and truth be told, we were expecting better out of it because from a lot of hybrids we've been testing, we've been seeing over 20 kilometers per liter from them. Now what we noticed in the Ford was it starts out at 18.5 and then it just doesn't move from there. We actually lost out a little bit when the system had to recharge, so hence the result of 18.2 kilometers per liter. Still a good result, but we were expecting better from the Ford. But really, when it comes to fuel economy, and if that is the only priority in your life, in your motoring life, there's no doubt about it, it's the BYD Sealion 6 for this one.
We're now on to the maneuverability test, and we have here a very small course, if you would, and I'm just gonna navigate the cars around here. I just did it with the Territory. I'm now in the BYD Sealion 6, and just to start things off, I wanna show you this 360-degree camera with a 3D function. Both of these units have these, but it's better in the Territory. It's clearer, it has more angles. Here, it's a very VGA-ish quality. It's poor quality, but it's still nice to have here. It's just that I was spoiled with the camera in the other one. So anyway, here goes nothing. So what I've noticed is that the steering is ever so slightly lighter in the Territory, but the turning radius is somewhat the same. So we're not doing any measurements here, it's just by feel. And I know it's not a scientific way to measure things, but that's just basically what day-to-day driving is. It's like more feel and just how one is easier to drive than the other. So yeah, I think turning radius is ever so slightly better here. But one thing to note, again, the cameras are better there, not just the angles, but just the quality. And visibility is better there. So that's the thing with these BYDs. They don't have the space between the side mirrors and the A-pillars. So the blind spot is a bit big. So earlier, before I positioned my car for this part of the test, I couldn't see Charles, and he was just by the B pillar, and I couldn't see him at all. So that's gonna be a problem when you're driving through tight city spaces. So let's just move this further up front. So it's not that far off in terms of ease of driving. This is still gonna be a relatively easy car to drive around the city, especially compared to like a bigger SUV or crossover. But just because of a few of those things I pointed out, I'm gonna have to give the points to the Ford Territory Hybrid.
For cargo capacity, you have our props here, per the usual. My daughter's stroller makes an appearance, as always. And you have a Thor box, a bag, and an engineer's kit here. So we loaded both items up to the Territory and the BYD Sealion 6, and a couple of observations. Now, on paper, this has 448 liters, and this has 425 liters. So when you think about those numbers, hey, there are actually some sedans with bigger cargo capacities. Kind of interesting there. But the thing about the Territory is the body is so wide that that's where it makes up all its volume. You can easily stack in items there, and even the way the parcel shelf is located, I can actually put my daughter's stroller upright, so it actually saves a bit more space, and you can actually be more flexible when you're loading things up in the Territory. That's mainly because it's basically a huge rectangle in there. In the Sealion 6, however, it has a sleeker profile, and that does eat up into the cargo capacity. And also the bar for the parcel shelf, it's a bit lower down, so some items are going to hit it. And oddly enough, there's another like hard bar right at the lip behind the rear seat. So sliding items in and out isn't going to be as easy. And when we were loading stuff up in the Sealion 6, it was already hitting it. And also when it comes to liftover, so that's loading things from the floor onto the floor of the cargo area. It's a little bit easier here in the Territory. Now, another thing about these two. So the Territory has these deep side pockets in each side, so does the Sealion 6. But we just noticed that the shape of the Territory's cargo area is just more flexible, it's just more usable. Here, okay, we wouldn't say it's bad, but again, you could see where some things were compromised. Ironically though, the cargo capacity of the Sealion 6 is actually smaller than the Sealion 5. If you're gonna carry a lot more stuff, we probably would sway you towards the Sealion 5. Now, for the last part, we also checked if these cars have spare tires. The BYD has an inflator kit, whereas the Territory has a donut spare or a temporary space saver spare. Yes, it's not a full-size spare, but hey, a spare tire is a spare tire. So points here definitely go to the Territory and its spare.
So there are a lot of similarities between the Sealion 6 and the Territory Hybrid in terms of extra features, and let's just try to run a few of them down real quickly. Both of these are equipped with the full suite of advanced driver assist systems. They have adaptive cruise control with autonomous emergency braking, lane keep assist, lane departure warning. They even have blind spot monitors, and for parking assist, they have 360-degree cameras, they have parking sensors, and all that. And as you move on over here, the similarities continue. They both have wireless charging pads, they both have cubbies underneath that house the USB-A and USB-C charging ports. And interestingly enough, in both of these cars, the USB-A ports only serve as the data cables. If you're gonna charge your phone with a USB-C port, you can't use it for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Now, speaking of which, both of these cars have head units with wireless and wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Of course, the BYD has that signature rotating screen, that big-ass infotainment system, but honestly, I like the pair of displays here better. So It's smaller, but the display is very crisp, and they're much easier to use and understand, especially the instrument cluster. I don't like how the BYDs execute their driver displays. They can be a bit cluttered. Here, it's just easier to understand. It's easier to navigate. The display itself is plain even, and it's just much less overwhelming when you look at it, because these days you have all these information in your clusters, like the hybrid gauge. Like, those are things we didn't used to have in our cars, but now they're here. But at least here in the Ford, they keep it pretty simple. Both of these cars also come with ventilated seats. They have automatic climate control, but the plus side here in the Territory is that this one has tactile controls here on a touch panel underneath for the AC. And the best part is that when you're mirroring your phone via CarPlay and you use these controls, it'll automatically switch back to the CarPlay display after a few seconds. That's a pretty big deal when you're navigating in the city and you don't know where you're gonna go. You wouldn't need to keep reaching for your head unit over and over after you adjust your AC controls. I know it's a small thing because you shouldn't be doing that much anyway, but you know, weather in the Philippines can be a bit erratic, so that's something a lot of people might like. Oh, and before I forget, these two have very good sound systems. The one in the Territory, it's OE. It's really good. Like, for a stock sound system, it's pretty darn good. But the Infinity in the BYD is just hard to beat. It's really good. It's got crisp sound, and even when you turn up the bass, when you crank up the bass with the treble set to the maximum, it doesn't suffer in terms of quality. So that's really a good thing in the BYD. This one is a bigger sunroof though. It's bigger, it's wider, and it's a bit nicer than the one in the Sealion 6. Now, to summarize all that, I guess it also boils down to just the sheer ergonomics of things. This one is just easier to use and easier to navigate. It's always been a problem that I've been complaining about with the Chinese cars, specifically the BYDs, but at least here it's better. It's a better system. It's a better head unit, better instrument cluster. So I'm gonna have to give the points to the Ford Territory Hybrid in this department. We're down to our final test of the day, probably one of the most important ones. It's value for money. Anton, how much does your Territory sticker for?
So this particular Territory retails for 1,599,000 pesos.
That's the top of the line Titanium X.
Yes, this is a Titanium X.
So the BYD Sealion 6, meanwhile, only comes in one variant, and it's priced at 1,548,000 pesos. That's 50,000 pesos more affordable. And and across the board, it's been a very similar, diba? Like, in terms of performance and what they offer. So we're gonna have to give it to the BYD, but it's a big gap because this one has V2L capabilities. It has plug-in function, so you can drive it with just battery alone. So,
and fairly far as well. Yeah,
so points go to the BYD. And now we're gonna tally them, and I'm gonna need our guys for this one. Guys, calculate ulit tayo. All right, first test, handling. Anton, you gave the Territory a 10, the Sealion 6 a 9.
Okay, so the reason for that is, okay, I will admit I prefer the steering feel of the BYD. It feels more driver-oriented, but really the suspension of the BYD is a little bit too squidgy, a little bit too soft. This, okay, it's a bit numb behind the wheel, but I feel more safe and secure, especially in, let's say, an emergency maneuver. I think the Territory will be better in that instance.
It weighs less.
Yeah.
It weighs so much less. All right, so points go to the Territory. Are you guys taking notes?
Okay.
Performance, 10 points to the Sealion 6, 8 points to the Territory.
No contest. The next test. Yeah.
So much more powerful, so much more pull. All right, comfort, Territory gets 10 points, Sealion 6 gets a 9. So both of these are actually pretty okay when you're driving on the expressway. It's just that, again, as I mentioned, this one sways a bit less.
Yeah.
And it's more quiet inside the cabin, which is why I gave the points.
Yeah.
Next up is interior. I gave the Sealion 6 10 points, the Territory 9. I actually thought I liked that one better, but it feels more premium inside the Sealion 6. It feels nicer, the colors are better. Siguro kung mas hip ka and you like the popping colors, probably you'd pick this one. But build quality, more of the same.
More or less the same, yeah.
Just feels better inside here.
Yeah.
Now, next up, practicality. You gave the Territory 10 and Sealion 6 8.
Okay, so it's not just because it has a larger cargo area. It's really the usage of the cargo area as well as the interior space for both these vehicles. Because the Sealion 6 is a longer vehicle, but it's actually less spacious inside, which is yeah. And one huge factor here is the fact that the Territory has a spare. And the Sealion 6 does not. It only has a tire repair kit and an inflator. So that's something to take note of, especially if you guys go on long trips.
All right, so next up, extra features. I gave the Territory 10 and the Sealion 6 a 9. They're very similar in terms of active safety features, and they both have sunroofs and all that, but this one has a bit more. It has a comfort braking function. It has a nicer sunroof, actually. But really, the ergonomics, the usage of all these controls, both of these have controls buried inside their head units. This one is just a bit more confusing to use. Like, I know the rotating screen is nice and all. This one has less cluttered displays. They're easier to navigate, so I'm gonna have to give the points to the Territory. Maneuverability, 10 points to the Territory, 9 for the Sealion 6, because this one, as you mentioned, is much lighter to steer, so it makes it easier to move around tight spaces. This one has a better turning radius. Surprisingly, I didn't expect that. But this one has better visibility, has much better cameras. Like, both of them have the multiple angle thing, but this one has much better camera system. Fuel economy, you gave the Territory an 8 and the Sealion 6 a 10. So
it wasn't even close. Come on, guys, nearly 50 kilometers per liter. Come
not
on.
Even taking into account like the battery-only usage.
If we put it on battery-only mode on a full charge,
it's like 99.
99 kilometers per liter. So, not even close, guys.
And as we just mentioned, value for money, 10 points to the Sealion 6 and 8 points to the Territory. Which brings us to 84, 83. 84 points to the Sealion 6, 83 points for the Territory. So
this is our closest big test yet.
I am genuinely surprised.
Okay.
I thought honestly, I drove this one more recently. This is my dad's car, but I drove this one recently, and it was such a big jump from the old Territory. From the
oh my goodness.
But I guess it just goes to show this is a much better car. Not a much better car, a better car.
Yeah.
Which is no surprise people keep buying it. So many of these here in Santa Rosa.
Even your dad bought one. I mean, we didn't pick this because Leander's, this is his dad's car. Huh?
I mean, we used it because we couldn't borrow anything else. It's really no surprise. A lot of people are buying this.
Yeah.
It's the bread and butter for BYD.
I think the choice is just going to be between which do you prefer in terms of looks or in terms of, which one suits your lifestyle better. But
based on these tests.
Yeah, based on these tests, our closest big test yet, ladies and gentlemen, your winner,
the BYD Sealion 6. That's a wrap.